Why 2025 could be the
most exciting F1 season ever!
This video is sponsored by the wonderful people over at Squarespace.
Happy New Year. It's 2025 and we are ready to get ready for Formula One returning. Yes, it is still January. Yes, we have still got some time to go. But the excitement's building already. I'm not going to lie to you, Tommy, because we could genuinely have one of the best seasons ever. We have just come off the back of one of the best seasons ever. But there are so many stories, so many things to mention in this podcast that it's got the blood flowing already. It's middle of January. We need to get a grip.
I know, the ingredients are incredible. I think we did this video last year at the same time, and it was very much like, can we think of 3 things? Whereas now it's almost like, can we do less than 40 things? Because, there's just so much to look forward to, and it's set up so beautifully, isn't it, from basically what happened last year. So please, come on, just bring it on already.
Absolutely. I hope also, by the way, you're enjoying our new microphones, our new audio quality. I'm hoping it's sounding crisp in your ears. We continue to try and strive and improve here at P1 Enterprises. So anyway, let's get into it. We're going to talk about a lot of things, as mentioned, that both myself and Tommy are excited for, but also you wonderful fans as well. So let's get started with my one. I'm wearing a Ferrari shirt, no surprise. I am most excited for Leclerc versus Hamilton at Ferrari. Obviously. Not just purely because of my fandom for Leclerc and the fact that, it is a new rivalry for Leclerc, but it's Lewis Hamilton. He's going to Ferrari. I think it's finally sunk in now. Still waiting for those first pictures to arise of Hamilton in all red. But I'm just so fascinated to see how this will unfold. Just that Lewis going to a new team after so long, going to a team like Ferrari where the culture is very different, I imagine, to what it would be like at Mercedes and at McLaren as well. Leclerc's embedded himself at that team. How will Hamilton sort of pick himself up from quite a disappointing end at Mercedes? And it felt almost like it was not sour, but Hamilton was ready to go, wasn't he? Which is not something we ever thought would be the case at Mercedes. We always thought that Lewis would stay there forever, but he didn't, and he's gone to Ferrari for probably the last few seasons of his career to try and win a world title there. And I am just buzzing to see how these two battle on track. I think they're going to have brilliant battles, personally. Both of them are excellent wheel-to-wheel racers. So, Tommy, are you excited as I am?
Of course I am. It's such an interesting dynamic having essentially Charles Leclerc that you feel like that team is built around him. He went into that team as the young gun against Sebastian Vettel, and has to be said, it became Charles Leclerc's team, and they signed him on a very long contract. He is Ferrari through and through, and it looked like it was Project Leclerc forever. And now they've signed a 7-time world champion to partner him, who's not going to want to be a number 2 driver, and I don't think will be a number 2 driver. It's just so perfectly set up. I can't wait. I think Hamilton will have a new lease of life as well, based on, this talk that he wasn't up to his best last year. It was a disappointing season by his very high standards. It's going to be so good because I think they'll be incredibly close, and I think that we had a little taster. Was it Qatar, I think, where they went side by side and we saw maybe a little taster of the kind of wheel-to-wheel racing that we could get between them. It's going to be so good.
If you're looking to create a stunning website, Squarespace is your go-to platform. It's an all-in-one solution that really empowers entrepreneurs. I've been using it, and let me tell you, the experience has been fantastic. One of my favourite features is Design Intelligence. It combines 2 decades of design expertise with AI, helping you craft a personalised website that truly reflects your brand. It's like having a design expert by your side. Then there's Squarespace Payments, where managing transactions is so simple. You can accept a variety of payment methods, making it super convenient for your customers. And let's not forget Blueprint AI. This tool helps you build a custom site in just a few clicks. It takes your basic info and transforms it it into a beautifully designed website, complete with curated content that matches your aesthetic. If you want to give it a try, head to squarespace.com for a free trial. When you're ready to launch, check out squarespace.com/P1 to save 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain. Trust me, you won't regret it.
Now, don't worry, we will be going into more depth and detail and getting into predictions and who we think teammate rivalry-wise we think is going to come out on top in later podcasts. This is just a case of just the storylines, just the things that we really are so enthused to see. So that was my one. Tommy, what are you bringing to the table? And let me guess, is it Max Verstappen? Is it can't wait for Max to win again?
Well, it's kind of... it depends how you see the season going. Whether, with Max Verstappen, basically it's the championship battle, and hopefully a championship battle, because I don't think last year I saw as many in the last X races. This is what the order would be, or just showcasing how close it was. The final six is a great example of it. The final six races of the year, Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz, Norris and Russell were separated by less than a win, if that was the start of the championship. So the way that season ended basically had us firstly thinking, why hasn't it not been this from the start of the year, because we've had the best title of all time, but also us going, well, this is perfectly set up for 2025, because of course we have the new regulations in 2026, so that's when people are going to change. So you think, in theory, the kind of performances should stagnate a bit, and that they're reaching the maximum potential of these cars, and that's why it's so close. It always happens in Formula One, and it's so brilliantly set up for what could not only just be a championship battle, but between 3-4 different manufacturers as well, like cars. So insane.
Yeah, not a lot's changing, right? In terms of regulations, we haven't got a massive shake-up for this year coming. That's, of course, next year, and we will talk about that in depth, I'm sure. But for this year, you can't think the pecking order is going to change massively. Red Bull were very much on the sort of decline in terms of performance-wise. Max was just getting some miraculous performances in there at times. But yeah, McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes... It's going to be fascinating to see how Russell and Antonelli work together. I think Russell had a really good season last year, and he could very much still push Mercedes to at least get some victories. So it's just so tasty. I cannot wait. The next one comes in from Highlander GT7. Adrian Newey with Fernando Alonso. I mean, look, again, we just forgot about this. We're saying top 4 teams. We're forgetting that Adrian Newey, as much as I don't believe that Adrian Newey is going to turn the tide for Aston Martin as quickly as this, I think 2026 will be a better opportunity for Adrian to actually showcase his genius. But still, I don't think it's just coincidence that when Adrian Newey left Red Bull, that Red Bull started to struggle. And I'm not saying that Adrian was the one that built the car and was the one in the garage. I'm not saying that. But I think there's more than just coincidence. I'm sure Adrian is just one of those overseers, just goes around, goes, don't do that. Yeah, do that. You make sure you finish this. And that is really important. As much as you kind of say it as a bit of a joke, it is a very important role. And I think Adrian, he's the best designer Formula One's ever seen. So I'm sure Aston Martin will improve, but it's just a case of, can they take that leap? Because only a couple of years ago, Alonso scoring podiums, but they fell back quite a bit last year. Can Adrian bring them back? And that's another question.
Yeah, they were awful at the end of the season. Really, really poor. And Adrian Newey going there, there's already been talk. Maybe they're kind of downplaying themselves a bit. But the fact that Adrian Newey is very kind of late to work because of his contract with Red Bull, and he's not going to be able to kind of work his magic on the new car for this coming season straight away, which would be difficult for them, but and especially because of how they ended last year with very poor performance. It has to be said, Aston were well into, they weren't even that 5th best team anymore. They were nowhere. And it is going to be fascinating to watch Adrian Newey and Fernando Alonso work together. Alonso's obviously gonna. We've made this joke many times about he's gonna want to stay as long as possible until he gets that, hopefully, magic kind of formula from Adrian Newey that he's raced against a lot of Adrian Newey cars in his career, and always kind of got the maximum out, but unfortunately lost a few championships because of it. So he's going to want that car. But I said this in our live shows quite a lot, that I really don't think it's going to be that magic bullet, particularly not next year, especially with him coming in so late.
Next year being this year, you mean?
Next year being this year, that's the confusing thing. Sorry, 2025.
This season is 2025.
This season.
Next year is the new regs, yeah.
Yeah, this season. But then even next season it is going to an engine formula, but that's for another day.
Next exciting thing to look forward to is from P1 Patreon member Sophie. How Alex Albon really stacks up against a teammate who has proven himself already. Now, of course, Alex Albon has gone up against one teammate that has proven himself, and that was Max Verstappen, and we all know how that went down. But apart from that, we've not seen it, especially Albon in a Williams, which he's impressed, it has to be said, over his course of his career there. Of course, some question marks came up when Colapinto came in, started scoring points, beating Albon occasionally. Carlos Sainz going into Williams is going to be brilliant to watch, I think. Just purely, I feel as though Carlos is going to do really well there. Any pressure that he might have felt at Ferrari will just dissipate, and he will just see this as an opportunity. And I feel like we might even see a more aggressive Carlos Sainz than perhaps we've already seen, because he knows that he has to do everything he can to score a miracle podium, perhaps. So, yeah, I think it's going to be stacked against Alex Albon this season against Carlos. I do genuinely feel like Carlos is going to do very, very well. But this is Albon's chance to sort of just reset now and go, okay, and you know, the fact he has a competent teammate coming in, that might actually help Alex, because I don't know how much you would learn with Logan Sargent as your teammate, as much as, you know, you kind of joke at that, but also you do kind of need two drivers pushing a team forward and making the car better, and also giving that competitive edge to each other.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way, that Albon, it might actually push him further, because working as a team together, they can, you know, push the car forward, because, yeah, like you say, the fact that Sargent was not getting the best out of the car, nor was Latifi, and I think the fact that what Colapinto did towards the end of the year certainly had a few alarm bells ringing, and people were like, okay, is that Alex Albon actually any good, or has he just had kind of Latifi and Sargent as a teammate who have been so poor? But I'm also really intrigued by this. I think it's going to be a fascinating lineup. I don't think that Albon's going to be, I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's going to be absolutely useless and it's going to like expose him. I don't personally think that. I think that's very unfair, because I think he has done a good job. I think it would be a way that I think Carlos will do exceptionally well, and what an asset Carlos Sainz is going to be to Williams and James Vowles in that team. You know, I think they're still kind of probably pinching themselves that they managed to get Carlos Sainz. If you'd have said that this time last year, that is there any better upgrade in Formula One history than going from Logan Sargent to Carlos Sainz to where they were last year? Is pretty exceptional.
Okay, next one comes in from Roxana TMN. To see Kimi Antonelli in F1. Now, Tommy, you're a fanboy, so I'm going to let you go first.
I cannot wait for this. And I think I'm actually in the minority of this, particularly when we did our P1 live shows, and it's like, so guys, what do you all think about Kimi Antonelli? And just silence. Which I understand, because he's a new driver. He's maybe not set the world alight in Formula 2 like people expected. I think when he was spoken about as this exciting young driver, and Toto thinks he's the next Verstappen, and oh my god, he's so amazing, I think a lot of people were very much, and he's gone straight to F2, that people were very much thinking, okay, so he's going to rock up and win the title as a rookie, or win lots of races. And he did win races. He had a good performance. The Prema was nowhere near what it should have been. We saw that even at the hands of Behrman, who was his teammate. But I just think he's going to be such an exciting driver. We saw that in his 1.5 laps at Monza, of him being incredibly quick and then going backwards into a wall, which I think is going to sum up him. I feel like he is going to be, this is a massive throwback, but I can't think of, so I don't want to compare him to Verstappen, but I feel like more of like a one Pablo Montoya where he'll have like big statement moments where people are like, oh my god, this kid is so exciting, and then maybe there'll be crashes and things where he's not quite there. But it's going to be fascinating because it's such a huge risk that Toto has put him straight in the car, not even gone to Williams, and they've just gone, no, you're replacing Lewis Hamilton, you're going straight into the big team against George Russell. Yeah, like it's quite insane actually that they've promoted him this early, and it's going to be exciting to watch.
Yeah, it's massive shoes to fill. Obviously, it's all happened because Hamilton's left the team. Antonelli would have no chance had this Mercedes seat this year. He was always in line for it. Toto Wolff, of course, has always supported him and wanted him to be the next big thing. But yeah, it's really exciting. It's funny, you know, there isn't that hype that perhaps we saw previously, and maybe it's because of the mistake he made in free practice, and maybe there's 100 other stories, and therefore the attention's diverted slightly. But for me, I'm really excited to see how Kimi Antonelli gets on, mainly from what you say, Tommy. Like, he's an unknown entity. We don't know what he's going to bring. We know that he's exciting from his junior racing.
Loves a dive bomb.
Yeah, he absolutely loves sending it. So if he brings that to Formula One, then what's not to love? And I do also agree. I think he's going to be very unpredictable with, and it will just take, right? It will take rocking up in Australia, him finishing P4, and everyone will then go, "Oh, Kimi Antonelli, wow, he's really good again," and then the hype will just barrage straight to him again.
And then he'll crash in the next race, and everyone will say he's finished. Why has he been promoted early? It's Formula One. It's such a fickle
you're only as good
sport.
As your last race. That's in the eyes of most fans, that is literally it. But no, it's brilliant. You know, if anyone's complaining about the likes of Kimi Antonelli coming into the sport, I just think, what would you prefer? No changes like we had previously. Like there's so many rookies, there's so much new talent, new blood. It's exactly what you need in Formula One. The next one is from Fogel_Shane. To see if McLaren can win the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship, they've got to be the favourites. They've got to be the favourites coming into this year. They were, on average, the quickest car of the year. They weren't the quickest car every single weekend, but they were competitive almost every weekend, especially after Miami. You take away Max's dominance at the beginning of the year, and it was so close, even with the question marks that we had with McLaren. I genuinely do believe that they will be the favourites to win both. I think Ferrari will also have a really good opportunity at the Constructors, at the very least, just purely because I think that duo is going to push that team forward. But McLaren, I think, have the advantage with just what we saw last year, and Lando will have learnt a lot from last year. It's the first time he's ever competed for a drivers' championship, and he was up against, in my opinion, the hardest driver in the world to take on for a world championship. So now he'll have that experience under his belt, and I think he will improve and he will be better, and I think he'll be more consistent. So yeah, bring that on. Oscar Piastri, the trajectory that he was on, he had a bit of a sort of quieter end to the year compared to that sort of 2/3 through the season. Everyone was like, oh my God, he's the greatest driver. And I think as we get more seasons into Oscar Piastri's career, we're going to have bigger, longer periods of this kind of driving. So, yeah, McLaren have an incredible lineup, and one with which I do genuinely believe, like Fogel-Shane said, that we could see them win both the drivers and the constructors.
It's amazing to think that, I know this wasn't an unpopular opinion, to think that maybe after Monza and Azerbaijan around that kind of time, like you say, when Piastri was driving superbly and not only being incredibly quick, and obviously the talk of how much he's improved so quickly, but also the daring moves that he was making and being a bit more ruthless, that he would be going into next year thinking he is, a good bet of winning the championship. And then Lando, funny that we mentioned the previous question, you're only as good as your last race. Had the last race of the season been Brazil, we'd probably go into this championship going, oh, Lando, has he got enough? He made a lot of mistakes and all this kind of stuff. But then he brilliantly won in Abu Dhabi and has kind of gone into the new season, and he's a lot of people's favourites. I think he is one of, if not the favourite to win next year, which isn't a surprise because McLaren had the best car through the majority of the year, and they are I think, in my personal opinion, are probably going to be less of a team compared to like the likes of Ferrari and Mercedes, where they're going to put all their eggs in kind of 2026. This could be a great opportunity for them to win a Drivers' and Constructors' Championship again while they've got this car and this package. So
it's getting me going, Tommy. I'm ready. Let's start now. 2 months. Come on, let's get in the time capsule. Next exciting moment is P1 Patreon member Ruben. The rookies and seeing how they stack up against the expectations and experienced teammates. Let's have a look, shall we? I'm still classing Liam Lawson as a rookie-ish, okay? Like a kind of rookie. Like he hasn't had a full season under his belt.
Yet, no.
So therefore, it's a kind of a rookie-ish. That's what I'm going to call him. He's literally in Red Bull. We're not even mentioned that. Like, Max Verstappen has a new teammate, Liam Lawson, who is aggressive, not afraid to go for moves. He's going to learn a lot with Max Verstappen and his teammate, as his teammate, I'm sure. That is going to be fascinating. I love seeing Max go up against a new teammate. And I'm sure you do as well, because he usually wins all of them.
He normally ends their career.
I hope for Lawson's sake that doesn't happen. But yes, Max does usually do very, very well against his teammate. So you've got Lawson there. Of course, we've mentioned Antonelli alongside George Russell. You have Jack Doohan alongside Pierre Gasly. We mentioned, actually, didn't we, in our Patreon podcast, a little bit about the news there and the fact that Colapinto is an Alpine reserve and the amount of pressure that's going to be on Jack Doohan's shoulders now, with the fact that I think, including the two drivers, they now have 5 in their roster of F1 potentials to have the seat. And I do genuinely hope that Doohan does well, but if he doesn't, I see that seat changing
very quickly. Yeah,
very quickly indeed. Then of course Ollie Behrman alongside Esteban Ocon at Haas. I reckon that could be fireworks, which would be great. Yuki Tsunoda alongside Isaac Hadjar, and then of course Bortoleto alongside Hulkenberg as well.
Like, many,
so exciting, Tommy. Like what stands out to you the most out of all of those that I've just said?
I think the fact that you've got 2 rookies. Like you say, Antonelli, and we're classing Lawson as a rookie in what is essentially race-winning machinery. But then even like you've got rookies in the full scope of the grid. Normally you get rookies come in and you get 1 or 2 and they join a backmarker team, and it's kind of like, oh, like a George Russell, like, oh, this is interesting. How's he going to stack up against his teammate? Is he going to do well? Is he going to be able to prove himself enough? And now it's just like, have all the rookies. I saw an absolutely insane thing that 7 drivers of the grid are on the grid, so over a third of the grid were born after Fernando Alonso made his F1 debut, which is absolutely
everything
nuts.
Comes back to Fernando Alonso, doesn't it?
Yeah,
everything comes back to Mr. Fernando. The world revolves around Fernando Alonso for you, doesn't it?
It basically does. But yeah, the rookies are going to be really exciting. Bortoleto is another one. You mentioned Antonelli and about how people thought, he should be winning the championship in F2 as a rookie. Bortoleto did. I know he's going to essentially be driving a dustbin, but if he beats Nico Hulkenberg, which is a big ask, but not, I wouldn't be like absolutely insane. That'll turn a few heads.
It is. It's fascinating. I cannot wait. And that sums up a lot of, and not all of, the things that we are excited for the 2025 season. Tommy, what are your final thoughts? The first final thoughts of 2025. Talk to me.
My first final thoughts of 2025 is just that actually just speaking about F1 again and getting hype. Like, this is no better podcast to start the year, because it's just made me go, oh, please, can we just have racing already? Because I've missed it so much and it's set up so beautifully. Just can't wait for this year to get fully underway.
I've missed it. I've missed you. I've missed everything. I've missed everybody listening. And we look forward to another amazing year of F1, P1 and everything else in between. So thank you, everybody, for tuning into the first podcast of 2025. We'll see you very soon. Take care. Lots of love. Sweet dreams. Bye.
Bye.